Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm here with Stephanie Bailey and John Cotter. Do you guys remember them from the last time they were here telling us about the debates that they're running about all these candidates that we are going to be voting for? And they are back again. Stephanie, good morning, and how art thou doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Well, and John?
Good morning, Alberto. Thanks for having us on. It's great to see you.
Well, you know what I always say, politics done right ain't mine. Politics done right belongs to everybody. Stephanie, tell me a little bit about the debates. What do we have going forward?
So we have tomorrow, we have Congressional District 10, which surprisingly runs from Northwest Harris County all the way to Austin. And we have Bastrop County as a co-sponsor, and you guys in Austin are going to see some press about it. Congressional District 10 was 4.5 points, I think, difference that we lost by. So it's winnable. We can do it. And then we have the State Board of Education position 6, which is Harris County and beyond. And we have next week, we have the Texas Railroad Commission and the Senate.
Let's start with the Senate. Who do we have coming in with the Senate, John?
On the Senate race, the runoff is to replace John Cornyn.
Right.
And we have State Senator West, and MJ Hager are the two candidates in the Democratic runoff for that seat.
And when exactly is that debate going to be again? To let everybody know.
That is next Thursday on
May 28th.
Date for you, exactly. Thursday, the 28th, May 28th at 7 p.m.
Well, I think we should all be expecting sparks to fly, because these are two prominent Democrats here in the state of Texas, and I think that's going to be a good one. Wouldn't you say, Steph?
Yes, I do. It's such an important race, and like I said 2 weeks ago, I think we did this with you.
Right.
Can Cornyn, we got to get him out of there.
Well, I mean, I think it's something that we have to work on, and I think it is. I love what you all are doing, because what it's going to do is especially with a lot of people sort of still locked in with the COVID-19 quarantine, get a chance to see these folk who they don't get to see as, because they're not running around the states like they should. Now, I tell you something, and I think we have to activate Democrats in this regard. We've been talking to a whole lot of people, and the other side is very activated. And I think it is incumbent on us to do exactly what you're doing, because absent that, they can win with a small amount of votes. So what else are you consider doing after these debates? I mean, I know that the election is, what's the date of the actual election, the primary election?
Just extended early voting, so it's 2 weeks before, but election day is July 14th. That's the day of election.
Oh, I didn't, that got extended as well then. Yeah.
Yeah, early voting is going to be 2 weeks now. July 4th is part of it. I don't have the exact dates, but I can look them up.
That'll be posted at the website, so that.
Yeah.
In other words, folks, you have time to get activated, and you have time to really start working about getting out there and vote. Now, is there anything else? What are you doing subsequent to these debates? I mean, I think when do you end? I think next week is the last of these debates, or?
We actually have been asked to possibly extend, so we're working on a few other races. There are 7 runoffs that we didn't cover, 4 judicial positions and 3 constable positions. So we're actually working with those candidates. They've been seeing what we're doing and how great our audience has been, and the interaction. And so they want us to do something for them too. We just haven't nailed down the dates and who wants to participate yet.
That is so important, because I tell you, I like to consider myself politically aware, and when I see those ballots and I see all the people on the ballots, half of the times, I'm sorry, I'm out of convinced. A lot of times I don't know, exactly who these people are. Don't you think that that's the case for a lot of people, John?
Yeah, it's very true, because especially in a year like 2020, everybody knows about the president. A handful of people know about the Senate and House races, but when you get way down the ballot, those are your local representatives and people that are working locally to help you out and help you in your community. And unfortunately, a lot of people just don't have the opportunity to get to know those folks. And that's one of the things we were hoping that this event, these various nights that we're putting on would be useful to help get that information out to the voters. Now, Stephanie mentioned that we are doing the Congressional District 10, and that's a huge geographical area. I mean, it runs from the west side of Houston all the way to Austin. That's a long way. It's got about 800,000 voters. The current incumbent, Republican fellow, he won in 2018 with 157,000 votes against the Democratic contender with 144,000. So that's about a 4% spread in that race. However, Beto, in his race in that district, it was within a half a point.
John, one of the things in elections is that you really need to start having name recognition. With us having primaries and all of that, since we have to give two or so, two, it's an issue. So who are these guys that are running for 10?
So in Congressional District 10 on the Democratic side, it's Mike Siegel, who is from over in the Austin area, and Pritesh Gandhi. They're in the runoff for the Democratic side. And the stats that we talked about for 2018, that was Mike Siegel running against the Republican incumbent. Well, so he's taken another shot at it this time.
And I think given that people kind of know him now, that should be a lot better. And given that it was just 4 points, and if we get out there, John, if we really get out there, this is something that we can do, but we just have to get out there. That just lingers in the back of my mind. What my friend told my wife is that the other side is so activated that, again, what you guys are doing is so important.
So our Thursday night race is the State Board of Education. That's position 6. So there'll be a runoff on the Democratic side. And, people wonder why the State Board of Education is so important in Texas. I mean, it's important everywhere, but Texas specifically. So some of the things that the State Board of Education is responsible for, well, they establish graduation standards for all the graduating seniors in Texas. They set the curriculum standards. Two of the things that's really important to those of us with a little progressive thoughts are they are in charge of charter school approvals. So they have a lot of control on whether a charter school gets approved or not. And then one of the biggest things that really affects nationwide is they're in charge of the education materials, meaning books. They pick the school books, or excuse me, the textbooks that the students get when they're going through school. They approve the stuff that's in those textbooks. So they approve what's in a history book and those kind of things. So, that's real important for the kids in Texas, for the education. But because Texas is so big and we have a huge volume of materials that we buy, it affects the other states. Because if the other states order the same books that Texas have approved, then they're getting a better price point on those books. And so it's so important to have accurate information in the school books in Texas, because it affects the whole U.S. education system.
Okay, Stephanie, so who's running in these different districts that you are actually taking through the debates in the next few weeks?
So tomorrow we have Dr. Pritesh Gandhi and Mike Siegel, and that's CD10. Thursday we have State Board of Education, position 6, which is Michelle Palmer and Kimberly McLeod. And the next week for Texas Railroad Commission on Tuesday, remember that's a statewide race, that is Krista Castaneda and Roberto Alonso. And then for U.S. Senate, we have State Senator West, and MJ Hagar.
Now, folks, for now, those are 8 names, but remember in a few weeks, it's going to be 4, and those are the 4 names that you're going to have to get busy with. Not only you voting for, but a lot of other people voting for. Now, that Railroad Commission is an interesting thing. We always hear Railroad Commission. John, why should people even be interested in Railroad Commission?
Yeah, I mean, you just think, well, they're in charge of regulating and keeping tabs on the railroads. And it's kind of funny because in the state of Texas, it has nothing to do with the railroads. It has everything to do with the oil and gas industry. And so it talks about regulations as far as environmental, how they can treat the flaring of gases, which is a known environmental hazard. waste that comes out of the plants and things like that. So it's very important, for the environment and for everybody that lives in the neighborhoods and for the businesses too. So it's very important because, I mean, think about Texas. I mean, and especially the Houston area, oil and gas is a huge industry. And so it has a big effect.
All you have to do is drive down I-10 or 146 or one of these places, and there's a time that you are surrounded by tanks and flares and everything else. That's what we do down here. I mean, we're sort of the heart of the oil industry in the country. So yeah, that is a real important position. So anyhow, what you guys are doing with all these debates it is so important. So before I close, is there anything that I'm missing that we need to talk about at all?
There's one little thing.
Let me hear that little thing.
A few things. Number one, this year, there's a couple things. Something that's a little bit of a warning, which is that we don't in Texas have straight ticket voting anymore. So when you're going to go vote, which we expect you to do, make sure that you go down and you click for every single race all the way down the ballot. We always say the closer it is to you, the more it affects you. So down the ballot, closer to home. The other thing is Texas is not red. We are a blue state. We just don't vote. If we can get people out there and get them voting and going all the way down the ballot, we can take it. We can take the state house. We can take the U.S. House. We can take the presidency. We just have to get it done.
John?
I'd like to leave you with this. The COVID-19's really highlighted a lot of breaks and fissures in our country's infrastructure. And I don't mean roads and bridges. I mean support structure for people that are not able to work right now, health insurance, things like that. And the only way that we're going to be able to fix those things is to put some adults in the room that actually care about what happens to the people. And that to follow on to that, what Stephanie said was, you can't just click one button at the top of the ballot when we vote this year. You have to go all the way down. And Texas has a long ballot because there's a lot of positions. So vote the Democratic position all the way down, because we need the folks in all of these offices. They're going to do things to make life better for everybody that's struggling during this virus.
And that is how we're going to make the change, folks. Having Stephanie and having John on our team, that is how we win. Thank you guys for all that you do. Thank you very much for what you're doing, not only for the state, but ultimately the country. There's one thing that I want to get out there before we go. Stephanie, how can we reach the organization? How can we also support the organization?
Wonderful. So if you want to become a sponsor, we are taking donations, and you can find us on Facebook, and also all the videos are posted on Facebook. And our site is 2020 Democratic Candidate Debates.
2020 Democratic Candidates Debate. Please, yes, folks, they are doing important work. Please treat them accordingly. Thank you so kindly, Stephanie and John, for being with us once again. And I guess we'll be back next week.
Thanks, Roberto. Great to see you.
I'm Egberto Willies, host of Politics Done Right, an independent news program. I post several news videos of interest every day. I ask you so kindly to subscribe to my channel, and please leave me some comments. Thank you very much.